architectural typology, a more specific one. It's an attempt to isolate and categorize the basic features of Egypt's most influential cultures, and tracing their recurrence and evolution into the many forms of Coptic columns, as well as classifying them with respect to their architectural context, material, and function. Coptic columns are particularly difficult to categorize because Coptic architecture, just like Coptic art, has never been an organized movement and has never been patronized by the state. It's primarily of individual preferences and personal sense of beauty. Never attained standard proportions nor standard form. Of course, ancient Egyptian architecture has been the major influencer of Coptic architecture. So we're just going to skim through the different forms of Egyptian columns because there are far too many to contemplate. These are basic parts of Egyptian column. We have plant style columns like the reed column, the palmiform columns, lutiform columns, the two forms of papyriform columns. The larger ones usually were situated at the center of the temple, where the sun rays fell through the clear story windows. So this represents an open plant, while this represents the closed part in the dark. Then we have companiform columns, which is a basic form of composite order. This is the reconstruction of the previous order. This is a composite capital. Composite capitals were especially common during the New Kingdom, the Ptolemaic and Greco-Roman periods. Composite columns were probably an evolutionary extension of the campaniform columns, with capital decorations including floral designs of any number of real or even imagined plants. Their variation could be endless, and they became so utterly stylized that the original floral motifs could hardly be recognized anymore. These are different forms of composite order. Next we come to the 10th column. This is the non-plant orders. These two are present in the Afminu Hall, also known as the Tutmosis Festival Hall. Though we probably know of other applications of this style from documentation, apparently the only surviving known examples are found in the festival temple of Tutmosis III at Karnak. This column is basically a representation in stone of the wooden poles used to support light structures such as tents and sometimes shrines and kiosks. Then we have Hathor columns, distinguished by the head of the goddess Hathor on top. Osiris pillars. All examples of this type of columns are engaged, meaning that they are part of another architectural element, often a square pillar. They appear to also have originated in the Middle Kingdom and take the form of the statue of the god Osiris on a pillar's front surface. He can be identified with the crossed arms. Next we have square columns. These can be found in most Egyptian temples since the Old Kingdom. This is another variation of square columns with the cornice on top. Polygonal columns as well, known as proto-Doric columns since they are believed to be the origin of the classical Doric order. Polygonal columns have no capital and no base, but directly carry a square abacus. And it's noted that there are always four sides of the shaft tangent to the abacus. They were popular in Egypt from the 12th dynasty onwards, and the best examples of these are, I know this is columns were found to have the height of between 4.5 and 6 times their diameter and base. Following are some columns in historic Coptic churches, homes, tombs, etc. that display ancient Egyptian features. On the left we have simplified lotiform and palmiform capitals in their Mahara closer. And on the right we have a bell-shaped capital at the old Coptic school in Aden. On the left we have a simplified palmiform column in Deir Marmina Bahar Amada. And on the right, here we can discern a lotus molding at the center of this composite column in Masjid Latif, or the old mosque in Esna. On the left, this is a canto with palm leaves above acanthus leaves from the monastery of Saint Jeremiah at Sabara. And here we have two pilasters with gorge or the pharaonic pillars on top. These are present in their Fakhuriyas. These are also pilasters with the chorus on top. Here. This one is in Baghdad Necropolis, and the one on the right in the Water Net. Here we can see the Ankh cross in the middle of the two doves. And on the right, this is a simplified palmiform from Deir Abu Mar. These are also simplified palmiforms columns. The two on the left are from Deir Salim Eda, the right one from Deir Marigotor. Palmiform columns as well from St. Barbara's Church and in Old Cairo. And these are from the Coptic Museum. Here we have a Coptic stela from Alexandria's National Museum showing a cross flanked by two rotiform columns. And the right one is from Kilia, where there are two palmiform columns on the exterior flanking another two umbrella-shaped ones on either side of each. This is the Swiss mission working on Kilia, and this is a it's rotiform but painted, not actually engraved. We have other cultural influences, other foreign ones. Most important influencer, of course, was the Greco-Roman one. The Greeks are credited with originating the three orders of the classical language of architecture, Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian orders, while the Romans originated the Tuscan and composite ones and used them alongside the three Greek orders. This is the Doric column, the most basic of classical architecture. Examples of which can be found in the Temple of Hephaestus and Parthenon. The Ionic order and the examples of it in Athens. Next, the Corinthian order, which is the most elegant, composed of layers of acanthus leaves. Can be found in the Temple of Zeus as well as the Church monument. The Tuscan order is a Roman development and it's much similar to the Doric one, but has a smooth shaft, unfluted one. And this is an example of the Tuscan order in Pompeii. The composite order is also a product of the those employed in the Arch of Titus. Now these are some Coptic columns with obvious Greek-Roman influence. We have simplified the canvas leaves here with a cross in the middle. In these two capitals at St. Mina's Church, Tahal Amida. This is also a Coptic acanthus. In the left one in the Red Monastery, and right we have the two Corinthian columns in the chorus of Church of Galilee here. This is true also for the columns of Basilica Ashmonian, mostly of Corinthian order. And these are much simpler ones in our monastery, with the cross amidst the canvas leaves. And here we have canvas capitals embedded on either side and on top of the entrance of Deir al-Malik al-Mukhashaba in Fayoum. These are also capitals, canvas ones in Kilian heritages. Now we have an Ionic influence in the necropolis. You can see the volutes here. There were two volutes. In the front corners, and the ones at the back corners are flat against the wall, here and there. This shot shows two shrines side by side, where one incorporates the volute capital, and the one right next to it incorporates the umbrella-shaped Egyptian influenced capital. While this one as well incorporates Egyptian elements, if you ask me, because here you have the cornice on top and the walls slightly slanted to the inside, such as just like the Egyptian temples. This is a simplified Ionic one using a Cornish wave, and on the bottom we have one from Heraclean Magna. From left to right, this is a Tuscan card and a Corinthian one, and the composite one from the Church of Rashmana, Fustat, Old Cairo. I'm just gonna skip to the rest. Then we get to Byzantine architecture. In the course of the 4th century, the Roman Empire was divided in two, with Egypt finding itself in the Eastern Empire with its capital at Constantinople, and then with the edict of Milan in 313, Constantine I ended the persecution of Christians, and over the course of the 5th century, paganism was suppressed and lost its following. However, archaeological evidence from Heracleopolis and observing Kisra reflect the changeover from paganism to Christianity, as well as their coexistence in the 3rd and 4th centuries, and well into the 6th century in some places like Philo. Byzantine columns are smooth, unfluted columns with intricately carved capitals of endless variety of plain bases. The classical Roman composite capital seems to have been the favorite type they followed at first. Subsequently, the block of stone was left rough as it came from the quarry, and the sculptor evolved new designs to his own fancy, so that one rarely meets with many repetitions of the same design. However, most Byzantine capitals are characterized by their cushion, basket, and fold shapes, like the two on top. There are two capitals from the Church of St. Vitaly in Ravenna. One of the most remarkable designs features acanthus leaves curved as if blown by the wind, the finest example being at the 8th century Rus in Constantinople, and the divine capital from Istanbul, and the lady capital from Samarkand Cathedral. These are two Coptic versions of Byzantine capitals. The left one from the Archangel Gabriel's monastery, Deir al-Malik in Fayoum. And the right one is the divine capital from the monastery of Saint Jeremiah, Sahara. This is a suite acanthus, one or swept acanthus. Also excavated at the Church of Saint Jeremiah in Sahara. And on the right, the basket and lady capital excavated at Alexandria, dates back to the 6th century. These are other capitals of Byzantine influence from St. Apollo's Monastery, Bawit. These are ones from modern church of the early 20th century, the St. Teresa's Church. And these are cushion colors, baskets or cushion-shaped capitals from the Church of St. Mary Garden. Now we get to Sicilian influences. It was noted that columns in Coptic churches Sicilian columns usually retain grandiose proportions. Here we have on the left the double proton capital with the inverted capital base. On the right we have different forms of capitals, like the here we have base capitals on top, corners or stalactite ones, like these ones. Then we have the impost capital. Sorry about this. Then we have stepped or corbelled capitals, like this one over here. We have the monolithic pyramid capital here, as well as the protodome one. These are also forms of the Sicilian capitals. Shafts were distinguished by their spiral flutes, the inverted capital, and the double proton ones. These are columns at the Apollonian Palace in Persepolis. And at the Wakim Mosque in Shiraz, we can see the spiral fluted ones. Here are corbelled columns from the Van Cathedral of Isfahan. Now these capitals are of various styles of viewing Mediterranean Byzantine influences from a Roman palace near Coptic in Iran. Now we have some Coptic columns with obvious Sicilian influence. These three exist in Fayoum at Deir al-Hamel and show the inverted capitals base. Then we can see the impost or simple Muqarnas capital at St. Mary's Monastery, Jabal al-Tahrir. It also occurs in Deir al-Maymun, Beni Suef. And at Deir al-Syrian. Spiral fluted ones here can also be found at Deir Knesset al-Harzurian. It's thought have brought some of these influences to Edinburgh. In addition, of course, to the Sasanian dynasties that existed from the 4th century BC to the 2nd century BC, right after the 26th one. This column here from the Syrian also shows the prologue pattern, and the one from St. Barbara's Church, Old Cairo. We have base capitals here, Hussein Church, and inverted ones, inverted capital bases. And more base capitals at St. Marco's Church, North Cairo, and the Coptic Museum. We have the inverted capital base here, and this one, and here we have the shaft with the curvilinear moldings and Arab calligraphy. This one here is at the Hanging Church. It has base capital and fluted shaft. This is stalactite capital at the Hanging Church, and another form of stalactite capital at St. Mary's Church in Zuela. Now this is one Egyptian capital which incorporates elements from different cultures. Here we have the canthus leaves topped by a corolla of petals, and then an impost, Byzantine like impost. We have other elements distinctive Coptic columns.
Hello?
It's too much time.
Thank you very much. So, thank you very much.